It's Not Another Buffalo Podcast, hosted by three of the most underqualified sports personalities this side of the canal. With John.
There's no way in hell that I can leave that in, right?
You don't think so?
Pat.
Well, to quote Rage Against the Machine, what better place than here? And, what better time than now?
And Brando.
We have this trust built on, whatever it is, like Bibles and gold bricks and whatever Brandon Bean's drinking over there.
All right, welcome back to Not Another Buffalo Podcast. I'm John. I'm here with my buddies Pat and Brando. We got the whole gang together. We had to. It's divisional week. You can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. I just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, our guy is Zach Korzelius. You can call him at 585-409-1088, 585-409-1088. Again, that's for buying, selling, or managing property in Western New York. He has one house available in Albion right now that looks really cool. I'll put the Zillow link in the show notes so you guys can check that out. And again, 585-409-1088. I'll put his email in the show notes as well if you'd rather not call people and you're like me, who will email somebody over calling them 1,000 times out of 100. I don't know if you guys are like that. You guys seem like real adults. But Brandon, you're good at calling for things. Like when we ordered food on New Year's Eve, it was like Brandon's like, I'll call for the pizza. Like that's fine. I'll go get the pizza.
I'm always calling, man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the call that it's just so instant. I just don't have I don't trust myself to respond to emails within a timely manner unless I'm at work. But like
even at work sometimes.
Even at work sometimes. And I know that if you call someone and they pick up, they're immediately on the spot. And so I like that.
Yes. Right. Also, John, we're talking about emails right now before we get too carried away. My inbox currently has 36,440 emails on my personal and 1,180 on my school. So I try to, stuff gets lost.
I just checked mine. Yeah, my Gmail app has a notification bubble over it that says 20,800.
Okay.
We're probably annoying some people out there who like
people get real offended by that when they see it sometimes. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even think about it.
My messages, I have 159 unread text messages, but they're all spam stuff or like automated stuff or
you get a lot of crap, John. You get a lot of crap.
It's mostly login codes. Honestly, that's 90% of it, and you're never opening that up because you're always just pressing the button to put it in.
Do you have the feature on your iPhone that doesn't delete those automatically?
I don't know. I feel like that was like a one-time option, and I probably clicked the wrong button.
Oh,
but
Apple's amazing, man. They'll fix it for you.
It's great. All right. Well, let's talk some Bills here. This has been quite a week. Pat, I'm so glad we have you on to talk about this stuff. Last episode, we kind of talked about the 7-team format versus the 6-team format. Sorry, we skipped that discussion. I actually thought about that because of something that you retweeted. I don't remember what it was, but we talked about that.
That's picked up some steam. I've seen a lot of videos on it these days, and I feel like the biggest solution that people are saying is to just chop the 7th team.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't necessarily vibe with that though, because you think about this drought wouldn't have come to an end.
No, that's not true.
They were the 6th seed when they were the 6th seed. The drought would have.
I think the drought would have come. I forget which years. I mean, so like 2004, for example, I think they would have been in with a 17 format. Yes. I don't know what other years they would have been the 7th seed. I feel like they would have.
I don't
Why
think
not
they
open
did.
it up to 8 teams? Isn't the NBA 8 teams?
It is, but then you have like no buys at that point.
Yeah. I think 6 is a good number. It makes every regular season game more meaningful.
The more I thought about it, like the best version of it is 6 teams. And the second best version of it is 7 teams. Yep. And the NFL is going to go with that because obviously it's 2 extra games.
It's only like $1 billion extra dollars.
Right.
Right. It's nothing.
Yeah. They could go without it. But
John, before you start your conversation piece, do you want to talk to Pat about his experience at the Broncos game for a quick second, or do you want to go right into it?
Yeah, Pat, what was it like? By the way, Pat, I owe you an apology. I did you dirty. Well, actually, no. Brandon did you dirty.
I didn't do you dirty, Pat.
I was complicit.
Elizabeth was like, Pat, were you drinking? I was like, well, I mean, yes, but like I wasn't as bad as I look in that picture. Like
I didn't think you looked bad until John said something to me about it, and I was like, I didn't notice.
I was coherent, listeners. I promise.
So Brandon sent me one picture. Pat's like looking down to the side, not anywhere close to the camera, and I'm like, I asked Brandon, I'm like, is Pat drinking right now? And he's like, no, he seems fine. And then
I
Brandon,
sent you the other pictures, right?
Like 5 minutes later, after I had posted the picture on our Instagram story, Brandon sends like 5 other alternatives where Pat's smiling and looking at the camera. So Pat, if you're going to put this on anybody, Put it on Brandon because it's his fault. He sent those pictures late. Where are your seats at?
So I was in the rock pile. I'm not sure the direction of the end zone. It was when that field goal was doinked at the end of the first half, and then Ty Johnson sort of catching that pass in the end zone.
It was a catch.
He definitely caught it.
Definitely caught it.
I mean, I was, and my senses were very, heightened because I was able to have all my needs taken care of. I had a little caffeine. I had some, Pepsi and some hand warmers thanks to guest services. So shout out Brando. But no, that was really fun. We had some really cool guys during the tailgate. I'm like part of the New York State Teachers Union or whatever, and they're cool. Union guys for Monroe County. They do like a coalition of whatever labor unions, and they were my buddy Randy and I, who are like, we feel like we're playing dress up when we wear dress clothes to work. Yeah. They were like, yeah, they were like, and like you get emails all the time about like the FA or whatever. And they were like, yeah, just ask someone from the FA, come to our meetings. We talk business for about 20 minutes and then we drink. And I was like, okay.
The Troy Franklin, I'm going to get his name right today. The Troy Franklin touchdown was going away from you, right? And the Ty Johnson touchdown was coming at you. Yep. Okay.
Also just very strange. Like it looked like Bo Nix threw that ball 200 yards.
Straight up in the air, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was telling John, from my view, he's coming at me. So I'm like opposite of you. It looked like Taylor Rapp was running in sand, just so slow. It's as slow as could be on the ground. Like I could get out there and beat him in a foot race, which obviously is not true. But
I mean, I couldn't tell. I was pretty far away, but it looked like those safeties were way off the ball too. I was like, I don't know.
Not even close. Yeah.
Whatever. You're 20 yards deep and you get beat. I mean, I would get torched. I personally did, so I can't really hate, but.
Gotta flip those hips there, Pat. Yep. That kind of stuff. But so I don't know if anybody has been paying attention to Pat. You're the best out of any of us of staying off of social media when it's best. But I don't know if you've seen some of the discussions and some of the back and forth. After Brandon and I did this first episode, we posted a couple of clips, and man, like the comments are just kind of flowing in. And I was thinking about why this Bills Ravens discussion is getting so heated. And I really haven't seen it like this before. Like even at our worst with the Chiefs, it hasn't seemed like the back and forth has been this not civil, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just posted a clip about how optimistic I am about all the, Brendan and I were talking about all the players who were out for that week 4 game, Pat. And, now they're going to be back in. So Taron Johnson, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Amari Cooper, and Von Miller. Von Miller only played 9 snaps.
Von was suspended, I think, right?
I think he played 9 snaps. So some people thought he was suspended, but I looked at the snap counts. He played 9 snaps, which again is only like 16%. So anyway, I posted these clips, right? And my mentions just got flooded with like, not just like regular discussion that you get from enemy fans when you kind of going back and forth, but like insults, accusations of delusion, just for posting that I'm optimistic about like these Bills players coming back. People putting, like stuff about how they suck at their PFF grades suck. And these are like literally the best 3 players on the Bills defense. People are bringing up Matt Milano getting juked in 2019, like as if that's relevant, and then don't want to talk about the Taron Johnson interception that happened in 2019.
Well, I was going to say, I saw some discourse too about Taron Johnson not being very good. And then very many just retweets and quote tweets of just that play where Brandon was hugged by a 400-pound man and couldn't see the interception happen. But I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those things though, where it all stems from our hatred of Patrick Mahomes. I think a lot of it is just projection and frustration with the fact that it hasn't been us yet. In defense of Josh and Lamar, I mean, they're the only 2 quarterbacks from that 2018 draft class left in the playoffs. So if that's a constellation, but I do feel like it is a lot of misplaced anger, like Karl Marx talks about whatever God is a concept to measure our pain. And, trash talk is a concept to measure our insecurities about our football team. Like, I feel like Chiefs fans don't even have to talk at this point, because they just go, like,
right. Here's why I think the discussion is getting so heated. And this kind of goes along with what you said, Pat. This is why I think both these fan bases are terrified of the narratives that will come out of this game.
Yep.
Because one of these teams is going home. Like both of these teams cannot, and it's the divisional round. This is not the AFC Championship. And these are two teams that you might consider in the top 3 of the NFL right now, like however you want to stack it out. And they're definitely the 2 best teams in the AFC. Sorry, Chiefs fans. Like, they are the best 2 teams in the AFC right now, how they've been playing, if you're taking this year as a whole. If Chiefs games want to talk to me about how they played on Christmas, fine. Whatever, you can have that. Great record. You snuck a bunch out. You got lucky. It's all right. It is unfortunate that this is the divisional round, right? Because this is a worthy AFC championship matchup. Yes. This is a worthy Super Bowl matchup if you want to go that far. But a loss is going to be devastating to whichever team takes it. Like, there is going to be a Super Bowl caliber team heading home after this weekend. So the narratives that the Bills are afraid of, if the Bills lose, this will be their 4th straight loss in the divisional round. 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And then they'll be also 0-6 against division winners in the playoffs. They'll be 6-0 against wildcard teams and 0-6 against division winners in the playoffs. This is all Josh Allen era stats, by the way. And then the narrative will be that the Bills can't get past good opponents in the playoffs and they'll never get past the divisional round. Like, that's just a narrative that we'd have to fight for the entire offseason. If the Ravens lose, they're going to have to deal with ESPN talking heads being like, can Lamar play in the playoffs? Like, is Lamar just destined to fail in the playoffs? Can he keep up his regular season play in the playoffs? Because those will be the narratives that crop up around that, because that's been a narrative that's cropped up in the past, and it'll just be amplified by this game. And no matter what, one of these 2 things are going to happen. So anyway, I think the winner of this game has a shot to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, and the loser's fan base is not going to want to log on to social media until next September. Like, it's going to be rough either way. Again, the only thing guaranteed is that there's a Super Bowl contender going home this Sunday. Yep. So it's a high stakes matchup.
I like to see these 2 guys that we're talking about, the quarterbacks. Now, it's interesting that it's such a bitter rival, because this week specifically, we can talk about Kansas City all day long, and they're going to sit back here and say, beat us in the playoffs. Beat us in the playoffs.
We're going to go beat up on CJ Stroud. Oh my God. Yeah.
but with the Ravens here, it has been, I don't know what their head-to-head overall is, but it's got to be pretty close to even. I mean, we got them in the playoffs once, but we've split a couple in the regular season. It's got to be close to 2-2.
I think it's 1, I think Josh is 1-2 against Lamar in the regular season, because you have that 2019 game where we lose very closely at home. And then you have 2023 where we're down 17.5 and we come back and win in Baltimore.
Right.
So if I recall, and then including playoffs, I guess they're 2-2.
This is interesting. So if you want to count it officially, Lamar's 3-1 over Allen, because in their rookie years with Joe Flacco and Nate Peterman, both quarterbacks came in for mop-up duty in that opening game. So they did see the field. Jackson is 3-1 against Josh Allen in the regular season. They made their NFL debuts. NFL. They both came to the NFL at the same time in the 2018 season in that Ravens 47-3 win.
That's a sticky stat, though. I feel like that's a bullshit stat, because he was, like you said, he was in mop-up duty. But so I guess technically Lamar is up 3-2 on Josh. 5 total meetings, if I understand.
Yes.
Technically. But yeah, 2-2 if you're not going to get weird about it. 2-2 in starts 2-2. where they started.
But and that's the thing with the Ravens here, is they have some ground to stand on here where they think that they can fight with us and they can argue with us, because we have a more balanced rivalry, and it's not like the Chiefs that are just going to say the same thing over and over and over. And the Ravens here, they're clawing for some credibility to change their narrative. Josh Allen has his narrative as one of the best playoff quarterbacks ever. Lamar is not one of the best playoff quarterbacks ever yet. It could change. This game here, it's not going to change Allen's narrative as a playoff quarterback being successful. He's had 11. He's played 11 playoff games so far. This will be number 12. And he's been a stud in almost all of them except the Bengals game, maybe you'd give him. And Lamar has 1 or 2 good games. So the narrative can change for Lamar in this game, but it can't change for Josh Allen. So I think that's why it's such a huge deal for these Ravens fans. And they're so pressed, and they want the world to know how much better they are and how they have 6 all-pros on their team, and Allen has 1. So, and on paper, we're the first underdog at home ever in the playoffs since the Bills have been in the NFL. And they have a better team top to bottom, but there's a little special sauce under center for the Bills with 17. And his magic is not qualified. It's not quantified. It's unquantifiable on what he can and cannot do here. So
so the magic thing under center is not Connor McGovern's butt sweat?
Yeah. Some special sauce. Who knows if it's sweat, if it's Thousand Island, whatever.
Just checking. I don't think Big you Mac want it to sauce. Be Thousand Island. You got to get that checked.
And not to, I'm not trying to ride Bruce Nolan's coattails by any means, but I guess people would say the Chiefs punt 5 times in the 3 times that they've played Josh Allen, 5 times in 3 games that they've played Josh Allen in the playoffs. So if wins are indeed not a quarterback stat, then I think you're right. His narrative is absolute, because I think he's 1 pass, maybe 2 touchdown passes away from being the all-time leader in wild card round touchdown passes, which is insane in itself. So I don't know.
I made the mistake this week of posting a graphic dividing up Josh Allen's playoff record versus division winners and wild card teams. This is a stark difference. It was like he's 6-0 versus wild card teams, and he's 0-5 versus division winners, which again, if you're comparing that to another quarterback, like wins are not a QB stat. We all understand that. I was really just trying to easily say, the Buffalo Bills in the Josh Allen era is a lot more to fit on a graphic than Josh Allen's, record in the playoffs. And people are like, oh my gosh, you think Josh played defense on those games? I'm like, no, it's not the point that I'm trying to make. Nope. But yeah, it is. That's just interesting. I think that's just an interesting stat because, unfortunately, the divisional round has been a tough round for these Buffalo Bills. And the one time that they did move past it, it was, a wild card team.
A long time ago.
Yeah. A while back.
Yeah. The tides are changing. The tides are changing for us. It's exciting. I really am just sticking to the point here. Like, I want Allen to not have any sort of equals here. It's Mahomes and it's Allen, and Jackson is like clawing his way up the mountain to fill the chasm between the top 2 quarterbacks in the league. Joe Burrow's like on another rock. Yeah. I think there's a really big gap between
what is a chasm?
A chasm is a large gap, kind of like a canyon, but not quite as grand as a canyon. It's more of a large gap. Yeah.
I wouldn't have known chasm either.
It's not chasm?
English language gets Brando part 5.
What is chasm?
It's spelled chasm, but it's called chasm.
Oh my, who does this? Who created these words? But anyways, the quarterbacks.
Wow, the Sabres won. They were up 3-0. I thought they were destined to lose in the third quarter. In the third period. Was calling them. Yeah, that's true.
The biggest sticking point here is Lamar Jackson's going to change everything if he wins this game for his entire legacy, probably at the moment up to this point in his career. And Allen does not have that on the line, but he has the stink of losing in the divisional round. So they both have these huge monkeys on their shoulders that they are trying to get off their back.
But wouldn't you say that neither of them are like, one of them is going to lose the opportunity to get the monkey off their back in this game, but you're not guaranteed getting the monkey off your bat until you beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship after that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting a shot to get the monkey off your back. One of these teams is going to go home disappointed, like we talked about, and the other one is just going to get a shot to get the monkey off their back.
There's a chance both teams go home disappointed in a week from now, right? Like there's a good chance the Chiefs can make it to the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I feel like this is if it were to happen, this is when it would happen.
It's a good time to be frozen.
The biggest matchup. You got to think we really did beat up on the class of the NFC, I'd say, other than the Rams, knock on wood, but
right. Pat, I wanted to share this too, because I know you've already seen this. So I just want to put this on the show because Pat was talking about Jack Kemp, right? This is funny. So I put the clip on Instagram, and as I always do, when Pat says something, everyone knows you take it with a grain of salt and you look it up before you post it because you were responsible for that content. And there's usually a lot of truth rooted in whatever Pat says, but maybe not 100%. So I looked this up. I was actually stunned to find that Pat was underselling Jack Kemp and his accomplishments. And also, I can't believe the older Bills fans in our audience are going to roll their eyes when they hear that, like, this is the first time we heard about this stuff. But I actually could not believe, I did not know Jack Kemp's full political career after this. This was a really,
he was almost he ran as vice president or something.
He wasn't elected to represent. We're getting there, Pat. I'm going to do it in chronological order here for you. So he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives right off the bat. He's a U.S. representative for Erie County and the South Towns. served as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development in the cabinet from 89 to 93. And then in 1996 was a vice presidential candidate on the final ballot, which is crazy. And then posthumously, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009. So Jack Kemp history lesson. So that's if you're wondering what the resume is to beat Josh, if you want the world of politics after football, which yeah.
The world is Josh's oyster.
Josh Allen for president, right?
I feel like he should write a show. I feel like if he wrote a Entourage-esque football reality comedy narrative series, I think it would be really good. But
I'd watch that.
I heard, maybe it was Jeremy and Joe talking about this. They were talking about, players that play in movies as actors, but as themselves, right? LeBron plays himself in that one little cameo that he does. And then Rex Ryan plays himself, right? In that there's like a little clip of Rex Ryan. Maybe it's a foot thing. They talk about feet. I don't know. He's like sitting behind a desk. But they were talking about athletes that could play themselves. Mahomes maybe. But Allen is, with Haley as his wife, there's a chance that could happen. We could see Josh Allen as a movie star at some point in his career.
Hey, that dude fixed his throwing motion and his accuracy issues. I mean, I think he could definitely take some acting lessons.
Did you watch the whole documentary that Jason Garrett put together? I watched it today. It's probably half hour long.
No, I haven't.
He goes to every quarterback and he talks about their motion and how to use it's the same thing in any like rotational sports, right? How to spin your hips, but use the torque to like swing your body. But Josh is like a huge part of that show. How he totally changed everything and his entire motion of like a pitching a fastball versus the little flick of your hand. But then they were talking about Greg Maddux and Drew Brees had the perfect throwing motion. And if you took the biometric, how they have the swing outline,
which is sick because they're not like physically the most gifted dudes.
Correct. And they had they matched up perfectly. So Drew Brees and Greg Maddux had the identical throwing motion, but Josh Allen was having such shoulder pain when he's trying to throw the ball the wrong way the first time in his year. He's not using any of his body. It was all arm strength. And now he's get this little
it's got the little cool slingshot, the golf swing.
And if you can master that, I mean, you're good at every sport, at golf, tennis, throwing a ball, you name it, pickleball. You can get that. If you get that hip, they kept all the quarterback, like the disassociation of your shoulders to your hips. And if you know anything about like body kinesiology, like keeping control of certain muscles when it's not normal to let them separate, it's so fascinating. Just listening to Josh talk, it goes through my mind. Like he's just such a professional. And there's
especially if you could keep up that conversation talking with a wax figure, Jason Garrett. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, it goes through my head. I'm like, this is why the guy makes $55 million a year. I'm like, he cares so much about this. And he knows it so well, so in tune to himself. And he said it to himself. He's like, if I feel myself going over the top more, he's like, I stop and I have to, before I go out on the field, he's like, I need to make a couple quick throws just to feel that in my body. And then I get right back in the groove and I'm ready to go. But he's like, every now and then I feel it where I go back to that over the top motion. It's literally just like a golf swing. It makes me think it's just like, okay, when you're doing it wrong, the ball changes. And
all right. So do you remember Dak doing the weird hip thing?
Yeah, the Dak dance.
Yeah. The Dak dance.
They talk about that.
That's got to be the disassociation happening.
It's exactly it. Yeah, but Drew Brees kind of took offense to the Dak dance because Drew's like, I was doing this 20 years ago when I was warming up. So I thought it was good. I watched it earlier today. Definitely kind of interesting if you're a Bills fan to tune into that because Josh Allen did the improbable. We talked a little bit about it in our last episode. You can't fix accuracy. And Troy Aikman's like, my bad. I was wrong. You can. Josh Allen did it. He's one of a kind that did it. One of a very few people that can recognize that. And it just shows to what an athlete he is and how much he really cares about the sport.
It's so weird seeing Troy Aikman sober for once when he's doing all these other interviews and stuff like that. So I'm so used to seeing him like drunk off his ass in the booth.
Yeah. I can only imagine what those Cowboys locker rooms were like. God, with Michael Irvin, Dion and Charles Haley with his member out at all times.
Emmett Smith.
It's probably a lot like that picture of the the Chiefs halftime in Super Bowl II where the quarterback's got a cigarette.
I will say though, Ravens fans, just so you get off our butts, we do realize that when Lamar was at Louisville, from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Yes, he did improve his completion percentage, like 7%. Yes, we said it. Okay, whatever. Please don't rag on us. We said it. So
didn't Josh improved his 17%?
17%, and it's the highest number ever by a quarterback from one year to the next. And it's just crazy how it's number 17. So like,
yeah.
Mind blown.
Well, at least, our franchise isn't named after a drunken poet who died in the streets, dirty and homeless. So, whatever.
Those Edgars are coming to town.
I did not have people taking shots at Edgar Allan Poe on the podcast bingo board for tonight.
Man, and if I'm not a Bills fan, like I'm not, I love Ravens and Crows. They're so smart. They'll bring you little gifts if they know you, man. If you do something mean to them, they'll communicate it and like come after you. But if you treat one well, they will remember you and like follow you around. But anyways, that's besides the point. Buffalo's going to trample a Raven every time, so it's fine. We're going to go back to this animal battle of the logos. I'm taking a Buffalo almost every time.
Did you guys hear that Lamar Jackson might change his number if he wins the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
What does he want to change it to?
I don't know. But like, so I just heard that he wanted to do this. This is a thing in like Formula One too. Like if you win the championship, you can change your number to number 1. So that's what Max Verstappen did. But I don't know. I think he's going to be number 8 next year if I had to put money on it.
I had to think about what his number is now. I had to think about it. The funny part about watching the highlights back of the Taron Johnson pick 6 is he changed his number, right? He was 7.
Yes.
And
no, he was 20. No, he was 24. Now
he was 24 and he changed to 7.
Yeah. It's weird watching that because James Cook also in his rookie year was number 28 and now is number 4. So
yeah. 4 is a better number than 28.
It's a lot better. It looks a lot better.
Yeah.
I would say the same for Taron Johnson too. I think Taron Johnson looks sharp out there at number 7.
7's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. So speaking of this defense, do we think that they're going to have any chance of slowing Derrick Henry down?
Yeah.
I don't see them getting trampled by a running game in the playoffs like this. I think if they get beat, like if this is going to be a back and forth game, it's going to be pass heavy. I even with Taron Johnson out there, I know that that's a light nickel package, but don't you think our 4-3 is going to kick butt at stopping the run if we have it out there with your third linebacker being Dorian?
Bring
like
Dorian.
A better version of Dorian than we've had all season, right? I don't know. Maybe those 3 don't have a lot of chemistry playing base defense a lot, whereas like they're in nickel most of the time and Dorian has been playing other roles. So maybe he's not used to being that third linebacker. I don't know. Maybe,
how
still
many
be in the middle.
4-3 snaps have we even had?
Like 12% on the season, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty low. It's usually only for specialty situations. And then the other specialty situation might be Derrick Henry.
The part about having these guys back is the processing speed, right? You upgrade your laptop and you can get to Google Chrome and you check your email in the snap of a fingers, right? Now,
that's a great metaphor.
The part and that first touchdown run against us, they let Ed Oliver blitz. They were talking about this on the radio this morning, so I'm stealing this from Jeremy and Joe, but they let Ed Oliver crash in. They pulled the guard because they saw that, because the Bills are a crashing defensive line, but you see the linebackers hesitate because they don't make the right read, because they're not starters, because we're playing a good team with backup linebackers again. And now we're not. And Matt Milano, Dorian Williams, even, if he plays, Taron Johnson and Terrell Bernard can all make reads faster than a backup. Even if it's a quarter second faster, the key to stopping Derrick Henry is to get him to make a cut so he does not hit the hole at full speed, right? You have to fill the gap to make him move laterally before he hits his top speed, because if he hits his top speed, we're not getting him down. So to get him to make a move behind the line of scrimmage and to initiate contact sooner, because he's still going to get his yards after the carry or yards after contact. So if you get him behind the line of scrimmage just a little bit, just to slow him down a hair, or disguise your blitzing a little bit, but you got to find a way to read what the O-line is giving you, to see who's pulling, to see the zone gapping blocks that Derrick Henry's going to go. And we have guys that can do that now on the field that we didn't have before. So just for that alone, their processing speed, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, it's going to be a difference maker. Is it enough to keep him contained the whole game? Probably not. I don't think so. And we will talk about the weather in a little bit here, but Sean McDermott is kind of a wizard at this as a coach, to get his guys to play gap integrity and to get his line to contain a mobile quarterback and to get his DNs to buy into that wider pass rush angle to keep the pocket there. But that's the whole key, right? That's the Ravens counterpunch is they say, okay, we know you're going to do that. So we're going to let Ed Oliver jump into this contained pocket and we're going to go. So this coaching matchup battle is super interesting to see this. And did you know John Harbaugh, right? He's terrible on fourth down. They talked about this today too. We talked about this on Monday. Like that's good. That could be the difference here to Sean McDermott's great on fourth down and Harbaugh is bad on fourth down. So, and you have a guy like Derrick Henry, we have Josh Allen, that should be automatic to get these yards on short yardage situations, but it's going to be down to this, man. It's going to come down to this. Can we trip up Derrick Henry enough to avoid these? Like put him into 4th and 4s, make it tricky. Don't make it an obvious run play.
I'm getting a little bit more optimistic as this week keeps going on and talking about the matchup and looking at the weather. And I think the biggest reason is that we forget about that other game is like this game's at home and the Bills are at home are a different animal in the playoffs. Their home record is way better than their away record is, you know.
Lifetime of the franchise.
Yeah. Lifetime of the franchise also, you know, and that's not necessarily relevant. I like to divide things up by the Josh Allen era because that, you know, obviously has much more of a bearing on that. But
the two big losses, man, at home, Chiefs and Bengals. And they were on a huge home win streak before those two games. So I was reading some Reddit lines because they were talking about how the line has moved so much to make the Bills underdogs now. And they're like, people are smart. This Ravens team is better than the Bills team on paper. And they're like, the guy responds, but the Bills at home in the playoffs historically are good. And the guy's like, well, not lately. You know, they lose these two games. So
I don't know. I feel good. Like make it as cold as possible. The next thing I have on here is like, who does the cold weather favor? But my answer to that, I really think it favors the Bills. I think they're more used to it than Baltimore is. Baltimore is cold. It's not like this is the Miami Dolphins coming into Buffalo.
I don't know how we can sit here and say logically that the weather is going to help us when their running back is a freaking freight train and anybody that is a human being that does not have Toradol running through their system is going to feel that hit more. Your fingers are going to be numb. And we're looking at 8 degrees, man. We're looking at 8 degrees. Yeah. It's going to be so cold.
What are the odds on a Pat Ricard anytime touchdown in this game?
Probably really high.
Way high.
Really high. They never hand the ball to that guy. But I don't know. It'd probably be like plus 3,000 or something like that. Brandon, you can pull that up for me, right?
Yeah, let me find it. Pat Ricard, is he even in any books? Like, is he?
Well, maybe he might be later in the week. I usually see him down at the bottom. He was
playing a lot in that first Bills-Ravens game. I mean, you know, whatever. You'd be silly not to have a fullback out there if you're going against, you know, super light box. But
yeah, I don't know. I have not seen this Bills team crawl into their own shell because of the cold before. Like look at the Patriots game where it was wind chills below 0 and stuff like that. There was one team who was ready to come out swinging, and there was one team who was a little bit timid, even just a little bit. And it's like, again, I know tackling Derrick Henry in the cold is that's the only tall task, but
you got generational running back coming against you. That makes me nervous when it's Derrick Henry. I don't care. And maybe it doesn't slow the Bills down, but that little bit of a difference of the pain level on defense, subconsciously or consciously, it might not hurt the Bills, but it's going to help the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? Does that make a difference?
Maybe. I think we might just disagree on that, which is totally fine. But like,
I'm nervous, right. Man. I just think of that last game we played our senior year, and they had that truck of a running back, and Pallone's like, go in there, and I'm like, I'm totally good, like not making a tackle this entire game because it's 40. Or no, it wasn't 40. It was like 20 degrees. We're 1-5, like whatever it is. And I'm like, this guy's going to run me over and it's going to hurt. And I mean, I'm not making millions of dollars. It's different, but just the physicality. But we're going to see who comes to play, right? We're going to see some boys versus men here. Who's going to separate, right? Are we going to sit here on Tuesday next week and say it was too cold for them, but just right for us? And we came to play and Lamar was frozen in the pocket, you know, something like this. I think that kind of happened last time. That game against the Ravens in the playoffs was cold in Buffalo for the Taron Johnson pick 6. I just remember seeing Lamar's breath coming out of his helmet. And again, also, like you said about being at home, there's only 6,000 fans in that game. Yep. And it impacted Lamar when he was in the end zone. it impacted how he was able to set up the snap count. He had to run a silent count. He took a couple false starts, I believe, when he was backed up down there. So that's definitely going to play a part in this game.
All right. What do you guys say we do some game picks here? I'm going to get into some divisional round game picks.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Do a quick little recap. John almost had a perfect week last week.
Oh, Chargers. I chargered it.
He chargered it. He did. He Justin Herberted it. Going 5-1, pushing his lead. He is now 59-41. Pat, tough week for Pat. All right. Tough week for Pat. After coming off a perfect week, 6-0, he falls to 1-5, pushing his record down to 54-46. And Brando sitting right at mediocrity where he has been all year, going 3-3. Pushing his record, thankfully, to 52-48. We just got to stay above 500, Brandon. Stay above 500. Still doing that.
Pat, it's tough. You pushed yourself to within one of the lead. You were one back after last week, going 6-0. You're right there, and then gave it back. It's a very Sabres move of you.
Yeah, well, it's my toughest rebuild.
Well, the good thing about here is we have quick turnarounds and we're ready to start the next season 1 week later. And it is the divisional round this week, which is the holy grail for football fans across America. This is the best slate of games probably throughout the whole year about how the competitiveness is, right? We've seen a lot of good games throughout the years in the divisional round playoffs. We're going to start with one that we hope is a good game as Buffalo fans. Can Houston go into Arrowhead as an 8.5 point underdog and at least cover, if not straight out upset?
They're not going to win. I'm just putting that out there now. So I'm not disappointed when they have a lead going into halftime and it's close after the third quarter. And then Houston doinks a 23-yard field goal to lose. But again, if they're doing that, that probably means they're covering the spread. So I'm going to take the 8.5 points because the Chiefs win goofy close ones. And I don't know. I actually think there's a pretty good chance this could be a blowout. But if Houston's defense is good enough to keep it close and Kansas City isn't throwing all the sauce at them on offense, then who knows? Maybe this could be a low scoring, boring, close one, which I would love for the Bills to squeak one out. I'd love for the Texans to squeak one out so the Bills can host the AFC Championship game potentially.
I think Houston's defense is not going to be good enough, and all the sauce will be out for Kansas City. So I'm taking the Chiefs here.
Yeah, that's fair. Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Ever again, I will not. Against fat Chiefs. But I'll take the Chiefs in the points.
I didn't know if that was Kermit coming out or Frank Oz, whichever character he might be playing at the moment.
Dyslexic Kermit or
dyslexic Grover, right? That's it equals Yoda, something like that. I like it.
This next game, Washington at Detroit. Detroit is -9.5. Could be the second best game of the slate this weekend. And I believe it is Washington has won the game on the last possession 5 games in a row for their record. So I think giving Jaden Daniels, Mr. Rookie quarterback against the Lions, 9.5 points, it kills me to take 9.5 points. But I think they're going to get close. Detroit's going to win. Washington's going to cover. So I'm going to take Washington in the points here.
I think you're crazy, Brandon. I cannot believe
I've been called worse.
I cannot believe. Sorry, I wasn't directly calling you crazy. I did not expect you to pick against Detroit, even on a spread like this. They're coming off a week of rest. They were playing great at the close of the year. They're going to be all ready to go. I mean, I don't know if David Montgomery's coming back or not.
They said he practiced in full this week.
I think it's going to be too much for Washington. They're a great story this year, getting that wild card win. But as we can see, the divisional round is where the men separate from the boys for sure. And I think Detroit is for real, and I think Washington is a good story. But I think this is as far as they take it.
They might have a man under center though. Jaden Daniels is a guy that is proving himself to be such an outlier of a rookie quarterback. And we kind of saw what Josh Allen was able to do against this, as a mobile quarterback against this defense. Washington's going to lose by 9, man. And just give me the half-point hook. I don't think it's going to be close either, but 9.5 points is a lot in an NFL playoff game. So I'm taking that. I'm going to play the percentages here. Give me 9.5 points. I'm happy with it.
I'm going to take Detroit there. I don't remember if I said that already, but I'm okay with 9.5 points. I think this one is a 2-touchdown win for the Lions. What do you think, Pat?
Well, I think that the Lions are going to win, but in some very Lion-esque ways. I don't know. I would take. It's 9.5, right? You said.
Yeah.
Give me the Commanders.
Lion-esque ways. Are they going to win 16-0? Like, what's the Lion-esque way to win?
Well,
I guess that'd be losing 0-16, but that'd be.
I was going to say almost blow it, but
right.
These lines are different. I think these lines are different, right?
They are. Yeah.
So that should be a good game.
Up 17 points in the NFC Championship game at half.
Okay. I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
That happened.
Oh man, I bet Lions fans get so annoyed when people bring up the 0-16 season. It's kind of like, well, I'm sure they're not even annoyed at this point. They're like, we don't care. They're like Bills fans. Like, if you bring up the 4 Super Bowls to people who weren't born for them, it's like, go ahead, dude. Like, knock yourself out. Like, put wide right in the comments because you're too lazy to put anything else. Like, go for it. I'm sure.
So you think they would be more upset about the 17-point blown lead in the NFC Championship game than they would?
That wound has not yet healed. I don't think, unless they win it all this year. I think that wound will be open for a little while. Just like our 13 seconds wound. Exactly. But that's their 13 seconds.
What I was going to say. Yeah. And also, not for nothing, but the 0-16 season is still bearing fruit for this Lions team because they get Matt Stafford and then they trade Matt Stafford. And if you ever look at the haul that the Lions got back from Matt Stafford, it's like Jack Campbell, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and there's one other player that I'm missing here. Maybe a linebacker or corner. Anyways.
Penei Sewell? Did you say him?
No, I didn't say him. Is that the guy?
I think so. He's the tackle.
Interesting.
Maybe.
So, but anyway, the Lions kind of got set up. Even if it's a long way away from that 0-16 season, like they're still benefiting from that 0-16 season now. So
yeah.
All right, this could argue about this being a good game, but the Rams are going into Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a solid 6-point favorite here, which is kind of interesting to me to have them at 6-point favorites after the beatdown Matt Stafford just gave to the Vikings and this awesome defensive line that the Rams have. I'm taking the Rams here and the 6 points. This kind of, I'm not going to say it's a lock because my locks aren't always locks, but
Brandon,
it's close.
Wait, hang on. What was your lock pick last week? Was it the Chargers?
No, it was the Chargers and the Rams for sure, or the Chargers over Houston for sure. Definitely. I think that's exactly what happened.
All right. So we're now let's keep track 2 and 3 on locks this season.
All right, give me the Rams as a lock, man. 6 points. Lock it in. Lock. Oh my God. Matt Stafford.
Every dedicated Not Another Buffalo podcast listener just ran to their favorite sports book to take the opposite of what Brandon just took.
Yeah.
But
shame on them.
I'm with you on this one. I think that the Rams cover the spread, but I think it's going to be really close to covering the spread. I do think Philly wins this game. If I had to pick between, those two. Pat, did you just ring a bell on your desk? Was that what that was?
For the lock.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. Pat, who do you got?
Yeah, I'll take the Rams on the points.
All right. That's the classic Philly to win, not to cover. Special.
Yeah, I don't know. That Eagles game last week was very bizarre.
Yeah.
To put it gently.
Yeah. Was a little weird. But all right, Brando, bring us into the big one.
The big one. The one we've all been waiting for. The battle of MVP candidates. The battle of 6 All-Pros versus 1 All-Pro. The battle of the man, the myth, the legend, Joshua Patrick Allen versus the guy that they wanted to set up as a running back in the draft, Lamar Jackson, the man from Louisville versus the man from Wyoming, meeting in Western New York in a frosty, cold Sunday night matchup leading into Martin Luther King Day on Monday. Shout out to all the schools for being closed on Monday. What do we see here? We have the Bills line moving rapidly to be underdogs here. Bills getting points at home in the playoffs. How do you not pick the Bills here? Do you use your brain and say they have Derrick Henry? They beat us by 25 points last time, and they have 5 more All-Pros than us, and they have better roster top down. No, give me the special sauce of Josh Allen's magical powers and give me the Bills.
I love it. You know me, Buffalo baby all the way. And you're giving me points? Christmas. I really do actually feel optimistic about the Bills in this matchup. I mean, again, like that 25-point loss, it's just like the Bills did not have their stuff that day. You saw it from the start. Like they were outmatched, outgunned, and Nicholas Moreau was taking significant snaps at linebacker.
Well, and I feel like that Curtis Samuel play, if it goes the other way and that flea flicker-esque play goes for a touchdown, then what? We're down 7.
Right. They're right back in that game. So, yeah, I think this game is going to go differently. And I think there's a chance the Bills win this game by a touchdown. I think there really is. So
let's take a look at this as a bet here. If you take the Bills -7, you are getting quite the bump. -7.5 is +241. -6.5 is +201. I say put your money where your mouth is.
I would do that. I think I might. Well, no, I wouldn't do that because I never bet on the Bills money line because I feel like the universe doesn't work that way for me. If anything, I'd go with the emotional hedge, bet the opposite.
Bet the Ravens. I was thinking about it today too. But I think this is another one of those things. Like, does Josh Allen etch himself as a legend of the game? Like Tom Brady winning these playoff games with not?
I don't even think. I mean, he could, right? I don't think he needs to be Superman to win this game. I think if the Bills execute their game plan and the defense actually shows up to play, like if you hold Lamar to just under 4 yards a carry, if you hold him to 100 yards or less, if you hold Lamar to less than 190 yards passing, I think that's the formula. And because again, if your offense is working, which it was not for a couple different reasons against Baltimore the first time, the main one being that you didn't have the number one wide receiver to take up any coverage. It's like, Khalil Shakir is on a bum ankle and all that stuff. But I don't know. I feel good about it.
I just think this is one of those games that if the conversation continues about the amount of all pros on the Ravens and the Bills, I'm continuing the conversation because I think it's a huge deal. And the way that Brady won these games with Wes Welker and parts, and the way that these stud quarterbacks made their team so much better and overcame the odds to win these games because of their magic and because of their brain and because of their raw talent. Something special could be happening on Sunday. It's just, this could be one of those games. You remember where you were when you saw this play. You remember this day in your brain, no matter what. And I think it's exciting. I feel better about it as we talk about it. But anyways, I'm interrupting Pat's game pick here. Pat,
all right, Pat, let's get it. So you can't pick the Bills not to win, not to cover.
I'm gonna pick the Ravens. I'm gonna emotionally hedge it.
All right. Pat's picking Ravens -1.5.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Watch, they win by exactly 1 point. I lose my mind.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. So Pat, for Houston and Kansas City, I wasn't writing down your picks. Who did you pick for Houston or Kansas City?
I'll take the Chiefs to cover.
All right. Chiefs to cover. And then you had Detroit -9.5 or Washington +9.5.
Washington to cover the spread.
Okay. Washington. Sweet. All right. That is it, boys. Next week, we will be doing the conference championship game picks. And my God, I hope we're picking the Bills again because we're all going to be really depressed on the show. And no one's going to be listening if the Bills lose this week.
Big time listener drop off when the Bills get bounced from the playoff.
Yeah, I understand. I can't listen to anything either. It will be the most uninformed podcast of the year because I will not be looking at content. We will just be finding ways to have fun on the show in the off season, which, by the way, forewarn, like if this is our last good episode of the year, and I say good, like relevant episode of the year, we do have fun in the off season. Like we probably have more fun than we do in the on season. So if you don't like the X's and O's talk and you want to just goof around with us, for the entire
the Billies
season,
and the Joes in the world,
we'll be here. We'll be here. So, but man, I'm losing my voice here.
We got one more thing to talk about, and we cashed it last week. We made people money, John. We talked about this a little bit. I have coworkers that made this bet and they won. So put it chalk it up as a W in the win column. We're coming back. Brando's bet of the week. We talked about it a little bit on Monday. If you happen to have the Curtis Samuel bonus bet from DraftKings, you're one of the rare 55, 65 people that get this bet. This is not financial advice for you, but if it was me,
don't put that on us.
I think I would put it, and this is where my Brando bet's going to go this week. I would put it on Josh Allen getting a touchdown, anytime touchdown score, because the guy is automatic from the goal line. In the playoffs, he has 5 rushing touchdowns in 11 games we said. So almost every other game. It's a lot of game script here. He might not need to all the time, but he might need to this week. And you dance with the one that brought you, right? Josh Allen touchdown scoring bets have cashed when we've needed them to the most. So, backs against the wall, playoffs here, divisional round, win or go home. I'm taking a Josh Allen anytime touchdown as my bet of the week. It's plus 110 on DraftKings right now. Double your money and some. I hope you win that 13 grand. And if you don't, it's not financial advice.
Right. Bram, what are the odds right now? Was it plus 700 for 2+ rushing TDs?
I will find it right now. 2 touchdowns for Josh Allen. It's plus 700.
I might.
Let's see. 13,699.
No, don't put your 13,000 on that.
If you win, you win $109,000, 592. But I am no financial advisor, so I'm just giving you the number that comes up on the screen.
Oh, Frankie, man, I can't. I'd be so tempted. I'd be
buying our tickets for the AFC Championship game in Kansas City if I hit that.
Right.
All of us. Airfare, whatever. First class, we're going together, man. Everything's happening.
You might be able to. You could probably get us to the Super Bowl with just the 13,000. Like if you just won that one.
Pushing it. I don't know about that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. We could see. But anyway. Well, thanks for listening to us, guys. Everybody who's made it this far in the episode, which maybe no one, who knows? But we've been having fun with this. If it's been a great season, if this is the last time that we're talking, for a little bit, like
it's not.
I'm not putting that out into the world. It's not. It's going to be a good week. We're going to be back next week, and have some mercy on Ravens fans after we win this week. Knock on wood. Take it easy.
See you next year.
Think about the good karma in advance. Karma works. Karma is above time. So if you act good in the future to Ravens fans after this win, that's it's circular.
Save it for the Chiefs fans. Give it to them.
Right. Yeah. They deserve it. They'll be fine.
They're annoying. And if we lose to the Ravens, I'm in on the Ravens-Lions Super Bowl matchup, right? That's what I want to see. So somebody's got to knock off Mahomes, and it's going to be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. But we got to get through Lamar first. So let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys know where to find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. Again, Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, our guy, Zach Korzelius, 585-409-1088. Zillow link in the show notes for that. Also, we talked about it before, but if you want to check out the Elite Picks app, which is really cool if you're into sports betting of any kind, it helps you research picks, makes picks. It uses machine learning. It's really cool. Affiliate link in the show notes will get you a free trial that you can't get anywhere else. And so check that out if you're into any kind of sports betting and want to get some action in on this weekend. Sweet. All right. We'll see you guys next week. As always,
Go Bills.
Go Bills.